I've had this conversation with people before about God and judgment and heaven and hell, and it's always been a like a conundrum to me is how can God be the father, your father essentially the best parent, the greatest parent, yet condemn his own children to hell? That
Yes.
doesn't make sense to me
That's
because
not
no parent would
that's
do
not a
that to their own children, right? Like here on the
no.
earth, you would never do that. You would always parents over and over and over again forgive their children, embrace them, bring them back in. Like they'll do anything for their children. And so
Mm.
that never added up to me. I just thought if God is an even more perfect parent than even great parents here on earth, then there's no way that he does that because that's just not that just isn't how parents operate. So I've had that issue with I've had that issue before with religion, and
Mm.
because it
Well,
does,
I could
yeah,
tell you, I could tell you this, and I could tell you this from even me saying this to you and all of you, based off just me being on the other side and how I know it to be true. When you cross over, or if you have these controlled states, what will be said to you is, I love you unconditionally, no matter what you've done in the past, no matter what you do or what you become, I'll love you unconditionally. And there's nothing that you could ever do that would ever stop that love. That's that's the truth.
yeah,
Because to say otherwise, it would be no different from what you said with the child.
yeah,
You as a parent never stop loving your child no matter what it does.
right,
So how could you say the creation of all things should stop loving the children of all of us?
right.
Doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense. And it also, I think the reason why, um, concepts personally, I'm not a religious person. I'm a more of a spiritual. I mean, I just hearing you, and I didn't really know what your thoughts were prior to talking to you, but
Mm,
I definitely agree more that we are sort of like, in my mind, I've reached a point where I believe we are more of a collective. Like we're all kind of a part of a something, and that the only
mm,
thing is unconditional love, and that's what people experience. And because I've talked to numerous people and read numerous books about people who have seen the other side, and they say, yeah, you don't get that judgment. But that's
no.
that's really destabilizing for parents, churches, governments, right? Because the whole thought of heaven, hell, wrong, good and bad, do good, is that's a form of
Mm,
control. I mean, if you suddenly say to somebody, look, it actually doesn't really matter what you do. It doesn't really matter what you do. You're still going to be loved in the end. I mean, it's just that is, for
well,
one, that doesn't sit well with people who like to have consequences for bad people, right? There's like a lot of
yes.
bad people in history that we could look at and say, yeah, but I sure wish they would have some consequences because they're doing some pretty awful things.
But there's nothing when you sit there and judge those that have even done evil here, and you understand unconditional love, if you've experienced that and you know that, and then you were to sit there in that state and judge them and bring them down, then you become no different from the very evil that you're judging. Because if you are in a true state of unconditional love, then love would reach out its hand and pull it up.
Yeah.
You see? So the it's not necessarily that people need to think that they need to judge others or put them in their place of they need to suffer, because I promise you this from my experience too, that there's not one thing that you could possibly do that will cause that individual, that soul, more pain than its own judgment on itself.
Mm, okay.
That is the greatest hell, because when the soul looks at itself and it sees itself in the love that it withheld, that is the hell. And there's
Yeah.
nothing that an individual can do to make that even greater. You may think that you can, but you can't. The worst pain that you'll ever experience is on the other side, and it's the love that you withhold. So there's no need to try to make them suffer, because the very fact that they are doing things in evil, they are already suffering for that to be manifested within them to begin with.
Yeah.
because love doesn't express itself as that.
Mhm.
Only anger, pain expresses itself in control, greed, and anger, not love. So they're already suffering. And they put the blinders on right now to mask that they're suffering in the false illusion of thinking they're in control when they're not in control. And when they cross over, they'll see that that pain will they'll see it for themselves.
Yeah.
Not yeah
They don't need like an external hell or or a person persecuting them is what you're saying, that they will their
mm,
own mind will do it until they can learn to forgive and love themselves even
yeah
unconditionally.
yeah yeah. And I'm not saying either. Like if you clearly see something wrong being done here, which is there's wrong all around here from everything, but love also protects as well. But what I'm
Mhm.
saying is at the soul level, the core, when you drive home to the core of the soul, when it leaves, that's what I'm saying. But if you see
Yeah.
evil being done here, then yeah, absolutely stop it, protect it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm,
But then also try to love the person who's doing it. Like whoever you think is doing the wrong thing, whatever the wrong thing is, to whatever level that wrong thing is, to try
mm.
to also love them and love the person they're wronging, love that person who's doing the wrong, try to love everybody. Um,
Yes. So so if you could for a moment, you and everybody else, if you could for a moment view everybody's evil doings here as they're your biological children.
yeah,
You if your biological child is causing harm to someone, you will stop that, but
right,
you still don't stop loving.
right.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm saying. To put
So
it in
then what is
perspective so people could understand.
sure. I have this thought experiment with myself all the time, I think is, and I think a lot of people do. It's kind of what is the purpose of this life? Like, why am I doing this? Why am I, just living in the grind every day? It's like we wake up, we do the same things over and over, and a lot of people do things. I mean, I happen to love what it is I do for work. I'm lucky, but a lot of people
Mhm,
don't. But they still do them if they feel purposeful, at least, doing something that people we are human beings that we've found that humans like to be productive for the most part. It gives us purpose.
mhm,
But then the
mhm.
question is, but then what is the real purpose? Like, what is this purpose? Why are we doing this? Why are we in the rat race? Why are we doing the same? It's like living Groundhog Day day in and day out. We're fighting politically, we're fighting
Yes,
our
yes.
family members, we're fighting, like we're doing all of these things. We're paying bills all the time. We're stressing about paying bills. We're stressing about all these things.
All
And
of it's
in
by
the end,
design.
yeah, so what are we doing? Why? What is the design of this?
First, the purpose is love. That's the purpose. If everybody here was in love, all of this would stop overnight. Everything. So, right now, systems have been put in place by evil, evil people that are not in love. And they want to control your life to every aspect, from the food you eat to the debt slavement system, the monetary system. They want to do all of these things to put the physical body, you, in a form of a prison. And they've done it very successfully. But they've done it based off putting everybody into fear. And
Mhm.
fear is the opposite of love. Fear is what love is not.
Right.
So they put people into fear. They put people into survival, all this survival mode. But if everybody were to focus on love, they would start doing things based off what their highest passion is, their highest fulfillment. They would stop supporting the very systems that enslave them. But people are afraid to do that because it becomes in this way. They think, well, if I just stand, no one else is going to stand. And
Mhm.
sometimes that's true, but sometimes there needs to be an example too. But the more people just stand in that space and start stepping out of those systems, and it all falls down.
Mhm.
Because all of these systems are built by man made constructs, man made beliefs, man made fear based things to enslave you. It's not based off love,
Mhm.
not at all.
Hmm.
So the purpose is love. The purpose is to love yourself, be your authentic self, and love everybody.
Yeah.
That that is, I know it's so corny to hear, but that is the purpose.
No, it's true. I had one experience in my life that I try to go back to that moment when I was about 17, I want to say. And I was young, but when I
Mm,
was 17, 16 or 17, I think it was 17, I got to experience for a period of time in my life unconditional love for people. And I don't know what sparked it or why, but I just remember kind of waking up one day and having this like love total I mean, just an immense amount of love for everybody. And I
mm,
remember I was in high school, and I remember walking through the halls of high school, and there was a couple girls that would bully me, and I remember looking at them and just loving them. I mean, I just distinctly remember, I mean, it was such a distinct feeling. I remember it to this day. I'm now 45 years old, and I remember, just the feeling of walking through and looking at everybody and thinking, I love I all of you. You're all loved. Everything is like there's doesn't matter what bad thing you do or what, and I was able to hold this for a period of time. I don't remember how long. Maybe it was a period of weeks or months or at least that long. But I had this amazing feeling that I carried, and and I just remember that, and I always think in my adult life, I think, gosh, I need to get back to that. That was the most incredible feeling. And not only was it incredible, it was freeing. It was an incredible feeling. It was incredibly freeing. Like you mentioned, I mean, at that point, you're just like,
mm.
none of this stuff matters, right? Like,
Yeah,
none of
yeah.
this matters. This is just love is the only thing that matters. And I have no regrets from that time in my life because I loved. And so I didn't make decisions that were regretful, and I always try to live now. My motto in life is I try to live a life without regret. Every decision I make,
Yes.
everything I do, I try to live without regret. And that's what I always say. People will ask me, why did you forgive this person? Why did you still do this with that or, with that person or whatever? And I just say, because I don't want to regret anything. I don't want to live a life of regret. And so, but I just
Yeah.
remember having that feeling and I remember how freeing it was. And I still, as an adult, try to get back to that where I'm like, I've just got to somehow bring that back in because it was,
Okay. Well,
you know,
I'll tell you right now how to do it, sort of instantly.
okay.
Uh, yeah, you don't need to close your eyes or go into some meditation or any of that nonsense. Um, but all you do is this. Just imagine this. Imagine if you go back, if you're trying to search for the ultimate truth of something, and you're searching for that, and you go back to the beginning of all things, and you finally find it, and all that reflects back to you is that nothing matters. Nothing that you do matters. None of it matters. No action, no mission, nothing that you say, do will ever matter. And when you're in that space, what would you do then? What would be your first thought? What would you want to do? And then when you go into that, then you would have found whatever that first thought is, that first action, that first thought, that first word, if nothing matters, then you would have found your authentic self. And in your authentic self, that is the highest version of unconditional love right then and there. And then you could start applying that way. I don't know if that
Hmm.
makes sense to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my first instinct when I hear that is, what would I do if nothing mattered? I would still teach. That's what I would do.
Hmm.
I would teach.
Hmm.
I think
And
that's
so
my core essence, though.
teaching, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot of people here right now. It's yeah, it's for that. Hmm.
I'm sure you are. I mean, clearly. But there's others that are for many other different things. Teaching is not, I think, at the core soul of everybody. But it's certainly, I
Hmm.
do feel 1000% that that is my at my that's what I would do. I would just teach, which I do. I teach, just in a certain form, but I'd probably teach more love and less I'd probably be teach love rather than hate, and I kind of feel
Could I even go? Could I go deeper with you? Let's just say even if teaching didn't matter, like what would you want to do? What would you want to do if if you had the ability to manifest whatever it is with no limitations placed on you, whatever it is, whatever you could think, whatever you can imagine, not even in with the bounds of laws of this physical reality. What would be your first thought from that space of what you truly desire to experience? Would it still be teaching?
Yeah, it really
Okay,
would.
cool.
I
There
mean,
you go.
I know some people and, look, like, I'm a creative person
Okay.
too, like, I'm a musician, do some art, dabble in art here and there. My dad is an artist and a musician, and, I mean, so I'm sure for him, for example, it wouldn't be teach, it would be create, right? It would be like if he could just
Yes.
do he would create some art, he would create beauty, he would create these things, and even though I do those things, it's just not that no, that I would teach. That's what I would do. I would teach. I mean, but if there was nobody to if everybody knew everything,
Mm.
I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
that would
Well,
be
well, that, well,
yeah,
well,
then what would we
well.
do?
Let's go there. Yeah, let's go there. What if, because even the source of all things, everybody knows everything, so that you could say
Right.
there's nothing to really teach. So then, what would you do without teaching? If teaching was no,
Reiterate. I would
okay,
reiterate.
okay, And- oh, good, oh,
I
good.
don't know. I would eat, I guess. If I had no other alternative, I would eat
Yeah,
delicious food all the time and be totally fine with it.
yeah,
Be in bliss. I don't know.
yeah. Okay.
Cook. I'd cook. I like to cook too. So I'd cook a lot of delicious food and eat it and
Hmm.
share. But yeah, that's really but I think obviously what I would teach is different than what I teach now because what I teach now is, politics and new world events and things that are happening and it's a lot of it is it's so hateful.
Hmm.
Um but I would like and I try to, I try to tap into my inner core from time to time and actually sit down and say, I should wake up every day and try to teach love in the way with what I talk about, the same topics, but from a different angle, from the angle of like less hate because I do feel a lot of sometimes I can't help it. Of course I can help it, but I feel, hatred for people or for events or for things. And I guess, it'd be better to approach from a position of love. I know I'd be happier. And
Hmm.
so, I'll commit from this point forward to try to do that, I think is
Yeah, yeah,
probably a
yeah.
good starting point. Because I'm with you. I do think I've read an have you ever read the book, Many Minds, Many Lives, Many Masters? Have you read that?
No, 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 I don't read. I can't read.
What do you
Yes.
mean you can't read?
So when I try to read books, the words start to change on me. So
Okay. Okay. So,
so they call that something else. There's always a condition for something that they try to label something. But
no, I
yeah.
get you. I understand you probably a lot better than probably most people do, only for a couple of things. And the reason one being, I actually have a degree in philosophy. And
Mm,
my favorite class in philosophy was called Time and Space. And when you
yeah.
go, that's the class that when you're finished with that course, you realize you know nothing. Like, you know nothing. You go into it thinking, I know some things about life. And then you learn time is not time in the way that we
Mm,
think time is, right? We think of time linearly, present, past, future. And in this course, you realize from a scientific perspective, and this class was taught by not only a PhD
yeah.
in philosophy, but he had a PhD in physics. So he was, and his dad was actually Teller. His last name was Teller, is Professor Teller at University of California, Davis. And his dad was like one of the fathers of the atom bomb. I mean, this guy was like brilliant. And he
Mm,
tried to, with his brilliant mind, try to explain to us how, time's not really what you think it is. And there's really no such concept. Like,
no,
basically,
no, no.
there's
So
no
it's all
time.
happening. No.
Yeah, it's all happening at the same time. And you don't even, but our brains cannot comprehend this. And so, but I got that exposure for that term, and
Mm,
in the end, you kind of and also you do these other thought scientific experiments where you realize like something traveling at certain speeds it actually changes physical size. Like there's all these
yeah.
things that happen, and it just makes you realize reality is not reality at all. Everything we think that is set, like time is set, right? Of course, no, not
That's
even
the
time.
that's the 1% of the light spectrum that people think is real. I've seen uh, potential time events within my own field. And I've come to that some things, not all things, are just are already written, and you
Yeah.
can't change them. Because I would come out of my body. I would see something, a potential time event, which is something that you could see, and I would come back, and I'll be like, okay, I would tell someone that's close to me, friends, parents. I'll be like, this is what I see. This is what's going to happen, and verbatim, it plays out. And even there's a couple of times where I even try to stop some of the things, and I realize that, like I told you before, that some things are just preset.
Yeah.
They're just preset. So
Yeah.
yeah, all time is happening all at once. Like
Yeah,
you could
but that's
tap into it.
that's a
Mm,
that's a concept vast majority of people watching right now are not going to fully understand. I mean, even in that class that like started out with 30 students and we ended up with like 5 of us in the end, most people dropped out. They're like, this is way too complicated for me. And it was all
mm,
proven scientifically. You went through the physics of it and he was like, yeah, this isn't just philosophical thought. This is actually a real thing. But you philosophy students are supposed to figure out what the heck this means. Like what is this? What is the implication of this science? And
yeah.
and also just from talking to and reading books and talking to others about what happens when we die and the collective. I mean, there's people that were pastors of churches and then they had death experiences and came back and they're like, wow, okay, everything I've been teaching is kind of not right. Like this, it's actually just
Mm,
love on the other side. Like the only thing you're going to
mm,
be greeted with is a wall of love. And the
yes.
question is, what did you learn? And it won't be asking in a judgmental way, but asking you in a way that's like loving, like, so what did you learn? What did you learn? And I've really adopted that belief system. And so I do think that is, and you're reiterating it. So now I think it even more that is what we deal, that's what we face. And we go through various different lives or iterations of lives, or maybe different places rather
Mm.
than Earth in order to, I guess, I mean, I don't know why. Do you know why? Like, why are we doing that? What is the ultimate purpose then?
Experience. Like I told you before, there's two things that I could classify down to as love and experience. The ultimate purpose of wanting to experience and having all these experiences is for experience, because what the you could say here, we value money as a form of value,
Right.
but there, replace money with experience and wisdom. That's the currency.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay.
But
So,
yeah, but people here, it's people here, even with hearing that, they still place less value in the soul here, because you could see a homeless person here, and
mhm,
you could see a homeless $50 bill on the floor. When people walk past two of those people, they'll pick up the $50 bill. You'll never see a homeless $50 bill, but you always see a homeless person, because people here
yeah.
place more value in a piece of paper than they
Right.
do the actual soul. But the soul is the ultimate value, and that value is the experience and wisdom that it has. And you'll find that poor people have the easiest time in terms of understanding this, because they are homeless people too, because they are disconnected from this place. They don't care anymore.
Right.
They're in the place where they don't care anymore. And that is a powerful place to be in, because when you don't care anymore, then you just start acting and, well, I will give to you. I'll help you. And you'll find people that have a lot here in that way. They do the opposite. So
Hey guys, thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iverson show, which you could check out Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern at KimIversonShow.com. See you there.